Ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Attorney Rob DiTusa. Next to me to my right is my partner, Laura Mangini. And to my left is Alex Sneerson from the Sneerson Law Firm. Today we're here to mark a significant moment in the pursuit of justice for survivors of childhood sexual abuse. I'm both privileged and humbled to address you today on behalf of our clients and their families regarding the resolution and approval of their settlements in federal district court, which just happened moments ago. These two cases involve the sexual abuse of two seventh graders by a teacher, Robert Gale, at the STEM Middle Academy in Springfield. As you may already know, Robert Gale was arrested in March of 2023, and he's been charged with multiple counts of aggravated statutory rape of a child, indecent assault and battery of a person 14 or over, aggravated indecent assault and battery of a person under the age of 14, and those criminal charges involve three separate victims. The criminal charges are still pending. In early 2025, our firm, along with Attorney Sneerson, filed two civil lawsuits. We named the City of Springfield, Robert Gale, Louis Martinez, and Rhonda Jacobs as defendants. Both cases were resolved at a mediation which took place in early November, and earlier today, those mediations, the results of those mediations were approved by the district court judge. The settlement amounts are being paid by the City of Springfield. The first case was settled for $1.8 million. The second case was settled for $13 million. These amounts reflect the harm done to the two children and their families, and they are also a testament to the strength of the survivors, their families, who had the bravery to speak out, seek justice, and demand accountability. The facts of each case differ, and Attorney Mangini is going to go in a little bit more depth with you about the facts of each case. I will say that it is notable. The $13 million settlement is the largest reported child sexual abuse settlement in the history of Massachusetts. Every child has a right to be safe at school. The City of Springfield categorically failed in its responsibility to keep these children safe, and the amount of the settlement directly reflects the magnitude of that failure. Child sexual abuse is an epidemic in our country. It is a serious public health crisis. Whether we're talking about the Boy Scouts, the Catholic Church, our schools, or even a summer camp, it remains a persistent issue in our communities and in our institutions. It's one that's often shrouded in silence, in secrecy, and disbelief. Every year, tens of thousands of children are sexually abused. Nearly every minute, a person is sexually assaulted. And every 9 minutes, that person is a child. 90% of the victims know their perpetrators. They're people they trust and people that they know. About 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys will experience sexual abuse before the age of 18. The statistics are staggering, but the effects of abuse are no less devastating. Victims of sexual abuse are 4 times more likely to experience drug abuse, 3 times more likely to experience depression in adulthood, and 4 times more likely to experience PTSD. Our society's tendency to disbelieve children compounds the trauma. It creates an environment where survivors often feel isolated and powerless. It must end. The worst part of child sexual abuse is that it's preventable. And we bring these settlements to the public's attention today because we believe that holding institutions like the City of Springfield accountable is a crucial step towards systematic change and prevention of future abuse. The courage displayed by our clients and their families is nothing short of extraordinary. Their bravery in coming forward not only achieves justice for themselves, but it will prevent future abuse from happening. It sends a powerful message to other survivors that they too can confront their abusers, seek justice, and that justice will be served. As I conclude, I want us to remember that justice is not something that happens in a vacuum. It takes action, it takes effort, and it takes courage from everyone. I'm going to let Attorney Mangini give you a little more details about each of the settlements and each of the cases. Thank you.
Thank you all again for coming. As Attorney DiTusa said, my name is Attorney Laura Mangini, and we are honored to be here this afternoon to talk to you about these settlements. Today's settlement is about holding a school system accountable when it failed to protect so many of its students despite the clear warning signs. At the outset, these courageous families that we represent want to make sure that one thing is clear to each and every one of you. What happened to them did not happen because Robert Gale acted in the shadows. What happened to them happened because those people entrusted with the care of our children chose to ignore what was happening right in front of their eyes. They ignored complaints from students, they ignored complaints from teachers and staff, and they ignored complaints from the parents themselves. And as a result, at least 2 families' lives, although we suspect that there are many more survivors out there, have been permanently changed. These cases force us to confront something that no one likes to talk about: the long-term effects of institutional abuse and institutional betrayal and abuse by an authority figure. Teachers are authority figures. They control grades, discipline, access, and approval. Children are taught, rightfully so, to trust their teachers, to listen to them, and to believe that they are safe with them. When that power is abused, the damage goes far beyond the moment itself. It teaches a child that authority is dangerous, that speaking up is risky, and it teaches them that adults may not protect them even when they should. For many survivors, the impact doesn't just end when the abuse ends. It follows them into their classrooms, their workplaces, and their relationships for years, sometimes for life. It can affect how they learn, how they trust, how they see themselves, how they feel safe, and it affects how they move throughout this world. This is not just emotional harm, it is developmental harm. And when the abuse happens in a school, the very place meant to nurture growth, the institutional betrayal that these survivors experience is just another cut. It reinforces the idea that they are all alone and they cannot trust anyone to help them. In speaking with the families, they also want to make clear that these cases are not isolated events, that they are not a result of one single failure. But instead, these facts demonstrate a chilling pattern, a culture that enables abusers and where the safety of children is minimized, where procedures exist on paper, but accountability disappears in practice. We often say that we want people to speak up. If you see something, say something. But when speaking up leads to silence and disbelief, the message becomes clear: don't rock the boat. When adults stay silent, it's the children that pay the price. This case is not about hindsight. It's about intentionally missed chances. Basic steps that could have been taken that were not. Basic steps that any reasonable institution charged with caring for our children should have taken. It's important to remember that the safety of our children is not optional. It is not discretionary, and it is not something schools get to handle quietly. In these cases specifically, at least one teacher reported early on that Robert Gale was giving one of the survivors rides home, which is against school policy, but nothing was done. Another teacher reported that Gale was allowing students to bypass the principal's office when they were in trouble and instead hang out with him in his classroom. Another classic sign of grooming that was ignored. Multiple female students complained to school counselors and administrators that they felt uncomfortable around Robert Gale, that he was creepy, and that they needed help. They were disbelieved, they were ignored, and they were told that they were misinterpreting the situation. Parents called to complain on at least 7 different occasions. But just like the kids, they too were ignored and their concerns were disbelieved. As a result, Robert Gale was allowed to remain in the school with unfettered access to children for at least 2 years. but we know he worked at the school district for decades longer. If children are not safe in our schools, they are not safe anywhere. They're not safe because the people who supervise teachers and work with them every day are not prepared to do what it takes and what is required by law to do, to report the signs when they see them. For the families that we represent, no legal resolution can undo what happened to them. But accountability matters, acknowledgement matters, and change matters. This settlement sends a message, not just to the city of Springfield, but to every school system watching today. Ignoring the warning signs of grooming has consequences. Delaying action has consequences. And putting institutional comfort over the safety of our children has consequences. Our hope is that this case leads to real reform, not just new policies, but real enforcement. Not just training sessions, but real accountability. And not just words about safety and empty platitudes, but actions that put our children first. Because schools should be a place of learning and growth, not places where warning signs are ignored and the harm is allowed to continue. That ends the proportion of our prepared remarks. We'll open the floor up to any questions that anyone might have.
So both settlements were just the city of Springfield? And can you clarify?
Sure. So both settlements were on behalf of all defendants in each of the cases, but paid for by the city of Springfield.
I believe you said that there are, you said 2 7th graders, but you said that there were 3 different victims. Is that correct?
Correct. So in the criminal cases that are still pending, as a result of 3 individual victims, our firm and Attorney Sneerson represented 2 of the families.
You said he was at STEM for 2 years, right?
No, he worked for the city of Springfield for much longer than 2 years. The 2-year period was the time from when the STEM Middle School Academy first had knowledge from that first teacher complaint that Robert Gale was driving kids home when he shouldn't have been, to when he was finally arrested in March of 2023. That was a 2-year period.
And all that time, was he at STEM or was he at any other school in the Springfield area?
He was at STEM for that entire 2-year period.
But before that, like his whole history?
His whole history was not at STEM, but he did work extensively for the city of Springfield.
If he was not, if the issues weren't taken seriously by the school district, how did the police and how did police become aware of this, leading to your involvement in the civil cases?
There was cellular evidence that came forward that one of the family's parents brought to the school's attention that forced them into reporting to DCF and the Springfield Police Department.
So the $1.8 million settlement in the document that I was reading in the Susie Doe, that was just for, so that was for the parents of one of the victims.
Correct. And then the second settlement was for the second family.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
And is the difference between the settlements simply a function of how long the children were being taken advantage of?
The difference in settlements is a reflection of the different harm that was caused by Mr. Gale, the city of Springfield, and the other defendants. So it's not a matter of length of time, it's the type of harm and the length of harm and the degree of harm that was caused.
Do you expect more victims to come out?
It certainly is possible. We do. Look, it's unlikely that somebody like Mr. Gale has only 2 victims or 3 victims. I find that unlikely. In our experience in dealing with these types of cases over the past couple of decades, it occurs to us, at least, that a person like this has many victims. It would not surprise us if there are more that come out.
We also know that Mr. Gale was the girls' volleyball coach during his time at STEM Academy, which is where he had access to at least one of the survivors in this case.
So the criminal charges that are pending, I mean, I feel like it's been pending for a while now.
Unfortunately, the criminal justice process moves a little bit slower than we would like. What I can tell you is there is a status conference on the criminal case on January 22nd of this month. I do know, as I'm sure you're all aware, there was a motion to suppress that had been granted, I think, a couple of months ago by Judge Duncan. The district attorney's office has appealed that. And so that appeal is now working its way through the appeals court system, which will unfortunately slow down the criminal case a little bit. But we have full faith in the district attorney's office that they will prosecute this and get justice for these families.
Yeah. I just want to make one more comment about the criminal case and the civil case. The criminal case is to get accountability from the perpetrator who caused this, okay? And it's the only way for a survivor to get accountability from the victim. But it doesn't give you accountability for the institutions that enable the perpetrator. What does that is the civil side, right? So the civil side, you have the ability to sue the institution and any administrators and all the people. It's your opportunity in the civil case to hold everybody that enabled him accountable for what happened. The criminal side does not give that to you. The civil side does.